Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 begins with two hunters, Reynald and Briegel, chasing after a few dogs that ventured into the woods. One of them is slightly apprehensive about going inside, as he recalls a sinister rumor about the place being cursed. Yet, his partner tells him not to pay heed to such superstitions. As such, they enter the woods and begin their search. For some time, the hunters bump into an old woman who warns them about a curse and urges them to run away. However, they don't listen to her words and venture deeper into the forest. Soon after, they notice their dogs barking at something. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shows a werewolf-like creature emerging from the bushes. The hunters run away as fast as they can and return to their castle. Yet, as soon as they return, they bleed to death due to an unknown cause. What's worse, their faces are disfigured following their death. Following the opening scene, the narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shifts to the Phantomhive Manor, where Ciel Phantomhive is seen studying German under Michaelis Sebastian's supervision. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 then reveals that Ciel has received a message from the Queen to look into a series of mysterious deaths in Germany. He wonders why he must go all the way to Germany when the Phantomhives are supposed to manage the underground society in England. However, since the Queen has many relatives in Germany, she wants Ciel and Sebastian to investigate whether the deaths are occurring due to an epidemic. That way she can send medical support immediately. She mentions how neither Kaiser nor the German government has given her a proper reply. Ciel mentions how he has already thought of using the Phantomhives information network to gather details about the situation in Germany. After that, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shows Ciel and Sebastian meeting Claus to discuss the matter. Claus talks about his recent travels to Germany. After learning about the incident from Ciel, he directly went to the village and the mansion where the deaths occurred. However, it didn't seem like it was due to an epidemic. Moreover, when Claus asked the locals about the deaths, they said that it was due to the witch's curse. In addition, all the victims have one thing in common. They all visited the werewolf's forest, an occult forest that's regarded a taboo by the locals. However, Ciel Phantomhive doesn't believe in witches and the curses. Since there's no other information available, he decides to head to Germany and investigate the matter himself. The narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shows Ciel and Sebastian arriving at the outskirts of Nuremberg, Germany. Ciel Phantomhive becomes frustrated when a man talks to him, as he cannot understand the southern dialect. As such, Michaelis Sebastian becomes the mediator. The man says he won't accompany them to the forest, as he has no wish to die. He continues, saying how the victims who went to the forest had their faces swollen. Moreover, their skins also got buddy, as if they were on the verge of melting. The man claims that there was a mysterious survivor, who kept on shouting that the werewolves were coming. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 then shifts the focus to Ciel, who feels they should go to the forest directly and investigate themselves. The man refuses to let them take his carriage, so Sebastian buys it from him. Meanwhile, the Phantomhive servants Finian, Snake, Mayrin, Baldroy, and Tanaka wait for Ciel and Sebastian. Once they procure the carriage, the party ventures into the werewolf's forest. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shows Sebastian's notes uncontrollably spinning in the forest. Ciel thinks it might be due to the minerals buried underneath the ground. After that, they discuss the witches. Ciel Phantomhive thinks the witches are human beings who have been falsely accused in trials. Moreover, it's also unusual for witches to curse someone. However, Sebastian doesn't quite follow that. He recalls an incident of a Sabbath summoning, where a qualified being can summon a demon when they are prepared to sacrifice their soul. As they discuss this further, Ciel and others detect a village in the forest. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 shows a mysterious village which looks well-maintained. Even though there are many houses, they all seem vacant. This moment, Finian shouts to see if anyone is there. Suddenly, many women come out with farming tools. They surround the party and call them intruders. Seeing them all, Ciel is convinced that there are only women in the village. The villagers think the intruders must be after their liege lord. As such, they want to punish them with a death sentence. This moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1, the village's liege lord arrives with her butler. She introduces herself as Sieglinde Sullivan. The other man is Wolfram Geyser, who aggressively approaches Sebastian and asks where he has come from. Sieglinde snaps at Wolfram for his rude behavior and apologizes to the demon butler in his stead. However, she falls into silence after seeing Ciel Phantomhive. Wolfram informs everyone that their village doesn't permit visitors and asks them to leave. Moreover, he's surprised by the fact that they have come to the village unscathed since a werewolf protects the place. This moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1, Sieglinde whispers something into her butler's ear. Wolfram then changes his tone and tells Ciel and others to stay the night in their castle. Ciel, Sebastian, and the Phantomhive servants follow the liege lord and her butler. While following them, Ciel notices the village and how it looks slightly abnormal, with torture instruments lying around. He suspects something occult must be going on in the village. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 1 ends with Ciel Phantomhive, Michaelis Sebastian, and others arriving at the Emerald Castle. Black Butler
3人でになるとは思わなかったが。
ちょっと待て、何をしようとしている。
牙城は自ら崩してこそ。
Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2, titled His Butler Sounding the Alarm, was released on Saturday, April 12, 2025. Picking up the events from the previous episode, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 begins with Sieglinde Sullivan inviting Ciel Phantomhive and others into her green mansion. As Finian reaches to touch a suspicious-looking flower, Sieglinde tells him not to since it's poisonous. The Phantomhive servants remain on the ground floor, while Ciel and Sebastian follow the liege lord and her butler upstairs. Interestingly, Ciel Phantomhive notices that Sieglinde Sullivan practices foot binding, a practice commonly seen in China. He wonders why someone would do that in Germany. Following that, the narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 shifts the focus to Sieglinde, whose stomach growls in hunger.
が食物の摂取を促す合図だ。
Ciel and Sebastian realize that Wolfram, who has gone to prepare dinner in the kitchen, is late. Thus, Michaelis Sebastian volunteers to go and check what's taking Wolfram so long.
キッチンの様子を拝見してきても?
許す。
Sebastian's absence leaves Ciel in discomfort as he doesn't know what to say. Yet, he manages to hold small talks with Sieglinde, who discovers that Sebastian is Ciel's butler. She also asks Ciel about his parents, and he tells her that they are dead. The narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 shifts to the manor's kitchen, where Wolfram meticulously prepares the dinner. However, when Sebastian reveals to him that Sieglinde is seriously hungry, he begins to show haste. Seeing Wolfram struggling, Sebastian assists him with the dinner preparations. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 shows Sebastian preparing a German local dish for Sieglinde, who loves it a lot. She then asks Wolfram whether he has made the soup. However, Wolfram says he hasn't. Eventually, Sebastian and Wolfram work together to prepare gorgeous meals for Ciel and Sieglinde. Just then, in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2, Hilda barges into the mansion, crying that a werewolf has been sighted. Ciel, Sebastian, Sieglinde, and Wolfram head to the plaza and find a young woman brutally injured with claw marks on her back. The sight shocks Sieglinde, who claims that a werewolf has never done this before. She applies a mysterious substance to the woman's injury. Meanwhile, she realizes that the woman hasn't kept her talisman with her. Elsewhere, Ciel and Sebastian observe the situation. This moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2, an old woman appears and says the werewolf has attacked the girl because of the outsider's arrival. She blames Ciel and others for the unfortunate incident. Wolfram urges everyone not to venture into the werewolf's forest alone for the time being. Following that, the party returns to the Emerald Castle. Sebastian notices the liege lord eavesdropping on him and Ciel Phantomhive.
これはサリバン様。従者も連れずお一人。レディが男性の部屋の前で立ち聞きとは感心いたします。
This moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2, Sieglinde Sullivan reveals that she's a witch who can read other people's thoughts. Sebastian, on the other hand, asks Sieglinde about the werewolf. Sieglind begins the story by explaining the witch hint. According to the episode, the witches were originally perceived as people who could drive away misfortune with spells and save humans with herbs. Yet, the locals deemed them as heretics. As a result, they fled to the werewolf's forest to escape from their pursuers. One of them, called the Emerald Witch, who happens to be Sieglind's ancestor, offered her legs to protect her kind. She also formed a contract with a werewolf. That's why her successors must bind their feet so that they cannot walk. According to Sieglind in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2, it's been hundreds of years since the Emerald Witch made the contract with the Great Werewolf. Sieglind feels the contract must have worn out, which is why the werewolf is attacking the villagers. Sebastian attentively listens to Sieglind's story and feels the villagers are imprisoned by the werewolf.
はは、坊ちゃん、そのご年齢でな。
ちゃんと男。裏若き乙女に恥をかかせるとはなんて無粋なやつ。
Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 shifts the focus to Sieglind, who urges Ciel to tell him about the outside world since she hasn't left the village since birth. Eventually, Ciel Phantomhive befriends Sieglind, and as a token of friendship, he receives an amulet from the girl, which she says will protect him from the werewolf. The night, Ciel Phantomhive and Sebastian head to the werewolf forest to start their investigation. They feel uneasy due to the foggy atmosphere and the eerie silence in the forest. This moment, Ciel begins to experience tears flowing uncontrollably. Moreover, Ciel and Sebastian witness the werewolf nearby. After returning Ciel to the castle, Sebastian goes alone to pursue the werewolf. As the butler runs through the forest, he realizes that tears are glowing from his eyes as well. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 2 ends with Sebastian wondering why he is crying, when he should be devoid of showing such emotions as a demon.
ああいうベッドでの甘い時間とやらを教えてもらおう。
おもちゃで遊びたいそうです。
何？最初からハードだな。
Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3, titled His Butler on Loan, was released on April 19, 2025. Picking up the events from the previous installment, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3 begins with Sebastian Michaelis wondering why tears are flowing from his eyes. Since he's a demon, he's supposed to be incapable of harboring such emotions. Furthermore, Sebastian notices that his skin is starting to swell. Suddenly, he recalls the gruesome details of the werewolf forest victims the carriage driver told him about. Sebastian then wonders whether he has been affected by the curse. He rushes to Ciel's room to find that the boy has also been cursed. Black Butler, Season 5, Episode 3 then shows the demon butler quickly carrying Ciel to Sieglinde Sullivan. Sieglinde is puzzled to see Ciel and Sebastian's state. She hurriedly prepares a purification ceremony with Wolfram's assistance. Sebastian and Ciel then take their clothes off and enter a large pot where they keep their heads underwater. Meanwhile, Sieglinde chants a purification spell and gives them a medicine. The witch asks them to swallow the medicine and then spit it out. As soon as Ciel does this, the choking sensation reminds him of a vivid memory from when he was tortured in a cult, along with many children of his age. The boy recalls how the cultist forced him to eat food and stabbed his friend. Black Butler, Season 5, Episode 3, reveals one of the haunting memories of Ciel Phantomhive. Soon, he wakes up in bed and finds his servants around him. Sebastian tries to approach Ciel, but he outrightly rejects his touch. Ciel mentions that everything around him is dark and thus wants his servants to turn on the lights. Sebastian wonders what's wrong since it's not dark. As soon as he tries to grab Ciel's hands again, Tanaka stops him and says that Ciel's eyes have become momentarily blind. Sometime after, the Phantomhive servants, excluding Finian, are outside Ciel's room. Mei Rin cries because of her master's condition. As such, Boldroy scolds her because he believes that crying will only bring bad luck. The situation perplexes Snake, as he feels that they are unable to take care of Ciel since he's distraught. Tanaka then wonders what they must do. Sebastian Michaelis says if Ciel has truly ordered him not to touch him, he has no option but to obey him. Following that, in Black Butler Season 5, Episode 2, Sebastian re-enters the werewolf forest and notices that the weird sensation or miasma from the other day is gone. He wonders why a demon like him would be affected by such miasma. At this moment, he breaks a tree branch and sniffs it. After observing for a while, he returns to the castle and prepares a sumptuous meal for Sieglinde as a sign of apology. During a conversation with Sebastian, Sieglinde reveals that Ciel's eye has been affected by the forest's miasma, which is emitted by the werewolf. She adds that the werewolf's forest weakens one's heart and induces fear. Sebastian recalls a few terrifying memories from Ciel's past and realizes that his young master might just be rejecting adults due to the increased fear. When Sieglinde asks Sebastian about it, the demon butler only says that a lot has happened to Ciel in the past. In other words, he doesn't elaborate much about the boy's memories. At any rate, Sieglinde Sullivan reveals that only she can create the secret medicine to purify Ciel's condition. At this moment, Wolfram lashes out at Sebastian for entering the forest at night. The demon butler calmly states that he went to the forest only out of curiosity to find what sort of person a werewolf might be, considering he has seen many demons and grim reapers in his life. Sebastian then brushes off the topic and urges Sieglinde to prepare the cure for Ciel. He promises to do anything for her. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3 then shows Sieglinde Sullivan asking Sebastian to become her butler till Ciel's treatment is finished. Seeing no other way, Sebastian accepts her request. The next day, Sebastian Michaelis returns to Ciel's room. However, the boy frenziedly destroys his pillow and still rejects Sebastian's touch. He even shouts at him to go away. Without saying anything, Sebastian leaves the room. After that, Sebastian prepares himself to serve Sieglinde as per their deal. He restores his skin to its previous state before it was scarred by the curse. Sebastian doesn't want to look unsightly when serving a young lady. Following this, the narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3 shifts to Sebastian serving Sieglinde, who asks Wolfram to take notes and learn from the butler. Sebastian's duty as Sieglinde Sullivan's butler officially begins as he heads to the kitchen to prepare the morning tea. Interestingly, he notices a few unfamiliar figures in the kitchen. Wolfram then mentions that village women often help with the food preparations and taking care of the young lady. The three ladies introduce themselves as Hilda, Greta, and Anne. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3 then shows Sebastian assigning various tasks to the Phantomhive servants, including Baldroy, Mayrin, Snake, and Finian. Tanaka, however, is free to do whatever he wants. Sebastian tells Finian to look after Ciel Phantomhive, which surprises the boy. The butler adds that Finian should give Ciel some warm milk with honey if he refuses to eat. On the other hand, Sebastian Michaelis senses Wolfram's scornful looks as he prepares the morning tea. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 3 ends with Sebastian Michaelis heading to Sieglinde Sullivan's room with the bed tea.
Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4, titled His Butler Serving, was released on April 26, 2025. Picking up the events from the previous episode, Episode 4 begins with Sebastian Michaelis entering Sieglinde's room and serving her a Ronnefelt Salon blend tea she's unfamiliar with. Sieglinde Sullivan is momentarily surprised by the unfamiliar presence and mentions that she has never had wake-up tea. Sebastian notes that a butler must ensure their master has a refreshing beginning to the day. The demon butler's grace impresses Sieglinde as she asks Wolfram to take notes. Following that, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 shows Hilda helping Sieglinde get dressed. The girl says she doesn't want to wear it. Rather, she wants to wear something foreign. Hilda doesn't know what to do because only a handful of dresses are available. As such, Sebastian takes a bed cover and transforms it into a beautiful dress, much to Sieglinde's surprise and delight. During breakfast, Sebastian instructs Sieglinde on table etiquette and points out her poor manners. He tells Sieglinde that she's using her silverware in the wrong order. Sieglinde, who has never been taught such manners, feels it's fine as long as she can eat. However, Sebastian corrects her methods. He mentions that a landlord must value dignity above all else. Thus, he teaches Sieglinde proper table manners. Wolfram is slightly offended by Sebastian's harsh words and methods, but the demon butler reminds him that it's a butler's duty not to spoil and pamper their master all the time. Interestingly, Sieglinde doesn't mind and asks him to teach her more such stuff. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the Phantomhive servants, especially Baldroy and Snake, disapprove of Sebastian's cold behavior as he serves under a new master. However, Tanaka is convinced that Sebastian must have a plan. He informs other servants that a butler mustn't only worry about their master, but ensure their master returns to a perfect situation. Following that, the narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 shifts to Sieglinde's room, where she asks Sebastian to teach her English. The butler then presents her with a summary of English folk remedies, a book he knows might be challenging for a beginner. Yet, Sieglinde becomes engrossed with the subject and asks Sebastian about various potions. While Sieglinde is busy reading the book, Wolfram steps outside momentarily and encounters Hilda, Anne, and Greta. Hilda warns Wolfram that outsiders are a bad influence on the girl. However, Wolfram states that he cannot do anything to stop Sieglinde's affection for them. Elsewhere, in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4, Finian attempts to feed Ciel. Yet, the boy doesn't want to eat and hides his face in a blanket. As such, Finian follows Sebastian's advice and gives Ciel some milk with honey. While feeding him the milk, Finian accidentally blows it into Ciel's face. He then gently wipes his face and asks Ciel if he will go outside for some fresh air. However, the boy doesn't want to go, as he feels it's scary outside. Finian then assures Ciel that he will protect him no matter what happens. Something he decided to do from the moment Ciel gave him the name Finian. However, Ciel tears up and says that he's not worth protecting. In response, Finian begins to weep as well. Episode 4 then delves into a flashback to reveal Finian's past. The flashback scene shows a few agitated doctors eradicating all files and specimens related to their research due to a raid. Finian, who used to be known as specimen number 12, hears the clamor on the upper floor. Suddenly, a doctor appears and shoots 2 boys beside him. The doctor attempts to shoot Finian next, but the boy's eyes glow, and he violently eliminates all the doctors in the lab. After that, he tries to flee from the underground laboratory. As he ascends to the ground level, he encounters Ciel and Sebastian. Ciel Phantomhive then stares at the boy and asks for his name. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 then returns to the present and shifts the perspective to Finian, who tells Ciel that he wouldn't be here without him. He mentions how he learned to grow things instead of destroying them with Ciel's help. Moreover, the boy mentions that it's Ciel who turned him from specimen number 12 to Finian. Soon after that, Sebastian and Sieglinde enter Ciel's bedroom. The latter changes Ciel's bandage and observes that his eyes are healing rather quickly. Shortly after, she leaves the room with Sebastian. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 then shows Sieglinde asking Sebastian whether they are devil worshippers. She believes they are because of the seals on Ciel's left eye and Sebastian's hand. Episode 4, Sebastian Michaelis tells Sieglinde that Ciel was once kidnapped by a certain demon-worshipping organization to be a demon's sacrifice. Sebastian had met Ciel during the summoning ritual. The demon butler tries to say more, but Sieglinde tells him not to, realizing it must be a sad story for him. She also promises to keep it a secret from others. Later, Sieglinde informs the Phantomhive servants that Ciel Phantomhive's recovery is going well. Baldroy feels they should return to the Phantomhive manor as soon as Ciel can move. Interestingly, Sieglinde shows hints of reluctance at Baldroy's words, yet she nods her head in agreement. On the other hand, Wolfram asks Sebastian to prepare dinner. During the preparations, Sebastian finds out that they are out of white wine for cooking. Wolfram then informs the demon butler that the wine cellar is down the stairs in the right direction. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 then shows Sebastian descending the stairs with Snake accompanying him. However, instead of going right, he chooses the left route and reaches a dead end. At this moment, Sebastian investigates the wall and locates a secret passageway. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 4 ends on a chilling note, with the demon butler and Snake witnessing an eerie staircase leading to an unknown place. Picking up the events from the previous installment, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 begins with Snake and Sebastian observing something sinister down the staircase they found earlier. The secret passageway reeks of a mysterious secret the Emerald Castle hides. As Sebastian and Snake are ready to uncover the truth, Wolfram appears behind them. He becomes furious and orders the duo to leave at once. Yet, before they leave, Snake observes something that catches him off guard. Elsewhere, in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5, Finian attempts to get Ciel to eat more. At this moment, a werewolf emerges from the window and tries to attack Ciel. Finian shields Ciel from the werewolf's wrath. Consequently, the werewolf slashes Finian's back with his claws. However, Finian remains unperturbed. His eyes start glowing as he kicks the werewolf. Meanwhile, Sebastian and others hear the commotion and arrive at the scene. Yet, before they can intercept the werewolf, it escapes from the window. At this moment, Sieglinde Sullivan arrives at the scene and learns about the werewolf's sudden attack. She orders Wolfram to prepare the secret service of the Emerald Witch. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 then shows Wolfram leading Sieglinde down a secret passageway. The hidden chamber's walls are decorated in a pristine yet sublime fashion. Yet, none can deny the clandestine miasma pervading the chamber. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 shows Sieglinde stepping into the ceremonial circle center, margined by the werewolf statues. She chants a spell, urging the werewolves to tone down their anger. Meanwhile, Snake observes the secret ritual discreetly. Elsewhere in the castle, Ciel Phantomhive grows more fearful, as his servants have a hard time trying to get him to rest. The werewolf's unexpected infiltration further poisons his brain with fear. While applying a bandage on Finian's back, Sebastian overhears Ciel's demand to return home. The demon butler is then thrown into a conflict, as he doesn't know whether or not to listen to Ciel, considering his orders are absolute. On the other hand, the Phantomhive servants worry about Ciel's condition. Tanaka then tells them not to worry, and urges them to keep quiet, as Ciel needs rest. Meanwhile, Wolfram arrives at the scene carrying Sieglinde, and says they are heading to the village to gather intel on the Werewolf Incident. He tells Sebastian not to poke his nose where it doesn't belong. The demon butler tells the other Phantomhive servants that they will wait for Wolfram and Sieglinde. The narrative for Black Butler Season 5, Episode 5 switches to Buckingham Palace, where Charles Phipps and Charles Grey inform the Queen that they have completed analysing the plant specimens from the werewolf forest. Grey is perplexed with how Ciel and Sebastian could send the plants from Germany to London in such a short time. Phipps states it's not unusual for Ciel because he has connections to the Underworld Society and its channels. Meanwhile, the Queen is shocked to see the report's contents. Eventually, her attendant, John Brown, soothes her nerves. After regaining composure, the Queen drafts a letter and seeks the werewolf's elimination. Following that, the narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 shifts the focus to Ciel Phantomhive, who dreams of a strange phenomenon at night. In his dreams, Ciel confronts his alter ego, who assures him that he can stay with him as long as he wants. Ciel's alter ego tells him that he knows everything about the boy, including the fact that he's scared to see the proof of sin beside him. The alter ego tells Ciel that he doesn't need to hesitate to stay with him for a while in this realm. While Ciel fidgets during his sleep, Sebastian stands outside his room. At this moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5, Snake relays his findings to the butler. Even his pet snake, Oscar, says it's an absolute scoop. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 then switches to the village's center, where the locals surround Sieglinde Sullivan. The villagers beg Ciel to banish the outsiders, as they feel that their staying is what has angered the werewolves. The women in the village are worried that innocents might die because of the outsiders. At this moment, the elderly lady from the village demands the reason for Sieglinde's unusual hesitation to oust Ciel and others. She also reminds her to complete the ultimate spell to tone down the werewolves' anger. Sieglinde is pained by everyone's comments and says she will make the outsiders leave the village the next day. Meanwhile, Hilda asks Wolfram whether he has forgotten his duty. Wolfram proudly says that he hasn't. He mentions that he's still the Emerald Witch's butler, and that it's the tradition. Hilden thinks it's fine, as long as Wolfram understands his role. Meanwhile, the Phantomhive servants are bewildered by Snake's revelation that he has seen werewolves in the castle's basement. Baldroy then suggests going in person to see the werewolves in the chamber. However, Sebastian, who had earlier gone to the secret passageway with Snake, observed that there was a sort of charm on the entrance that warned the intruders. That's how Wolfram caught him red-handed last time. The demon butler requests the servants to distract Wolfram when he returns so he can sneak into the basement. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 then shows Sebastian creating a hole in a wall to descend the hidden stairs to reach the Emerald Castle's basement. He witnesses the ceremonial circle and a magic wand and realizes something perplexing. Meanwhile, Wolfram and Anne return to the castle's kitchen, where the Phantomhive servants are stationed. At this moment, one of Snake's pet snakes, Oscar, wraps around Anne's body. Anne lets out a scream as the snake wriggles around her. Eventually, Sebastian pulls it free from Anne. As Sebastian exits the kitchen, Wolfram sternly orders him to leave the next day. Outside, Snake hears Oscar's hiss and tells Sebastian that Anne smells like a werewolf. At this moment, the demon butler senses someone approaching. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 5 ends with Queen Victoria's aide, John Brown, coming to deliver a letter from His Majesty. Picking up the events from the previous episode, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 begins with John Brown appearing before Sebastian, Michaelis and Snake to deliver a letter from His Majesty, Queen Victoria. Sebastian asks John whether he has come by horse. John is irked by the question and says he hasn't used his horse because he can't bear to see his companion face such a terrible road. During an exchange, Sebastian informs John that Ciel has fallen sick so that he will pass on the letter. However, John states that the Queen has ordered the letter to be read immediately. As such, the demon butler begins to read the letter's content, shows Sebastian astonished by what he has read. Following this, John announces his leave and instructs Sebastian to tell Ciel to take care. Likewise, Sebastian tells John Brown to be aware of the werewolves. After the Queen's aide leaves, Sebastian tells Snake that they can finally pick up pace. Elsewhere, Wolfram tells Sieglinde that it's almost time for dinner. However, Sieglinde appears slightly morose. She wonders if she can see off Ciel and the rest when they leave. Wolfram immediately rejects such an idea and says it's for the sake of her security. Sieglinde begins to cry, stating she wants to see the outside world. Yet, Wolfram remains adamant in his stance. At this moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6, Sieglinde tries to go after Wolfram and falls as a result. The butler then hugs Sieglinde and apologizes. Meanwhile, Sieglinde says she will complete the ultimate spell, which shall protect everyone. The narrative for Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 then shifts the focus to Ciel's room, where he has just awakened. At this moment, Finian opens the door and finds Sebastian Michaelis inside. Finian tells Sebastian to go away, as his presence will only scare Ciel. However, Sebastian orders Finian to leave the room for a while. He mentions that he wants to discuss something important with Ciel. Meanwhile, Ciel gets agitated by Sebastian's presence. Finian then steps in between them and urges Sebastian to leave. However, the demon butler grabs Finian and throws him out of the room. After shutting the door, Sebastian approaches Ciel, who trembles with fear. The butler informs Ciel that they have received a letter from the Queen and that they have to leave the village the next day. He menacingly tells Ciel to end his fretful act and take action. When Ciel refuses, a dark aura emits from the butler and binds the boy. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 then shows Sebastian Michaelis reminding Ciel Phantomhive that abandoning revenge midway is against the Faustian contract. He is displeased with how boring Ciel has become and is prepared to devour his soul. Ciel Phantomhive wonders whether he will die before fulfilling his revenge. Sebastian Michaelis' terrifying form turns Ciel petrified with fear, as he doesn't know what to do. Meanwhile, he struggles with his past memories. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 then explores Ciel's consciousness, where his alter ego asks him to stay with him forever. The alter ego reminds the boy that no one has ever asked him to take revenge. Ciel's alter ego also asks him why he intends to seek revenge, then shows Ciel imagining himself locked in a cage with his family, Vincent, Rachel, Angelina, Joker, and Doll, observing him intently. Ciel's alter ego reminds him that many have perished, wishing for revenge. It asks Ciel whether he wants the Ciel Phantomhive to forgive him. At this moment, the spectator's phantoms ask Ciel some pressing questions. Angelina asks him if he wants to leave his weak self behind, while Joker inquires if he wants everything to become his. Likewise, Rachel wonders whether the boy seeks revenge for her and Vincent. However, Ciel Phantomhive cannot answer any questions. At this moment in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6, Sebastian Michaelis asks the boy why he put his soul on the line to sign the contract with him. Suddenly, Ciel remembers that he simply uses Sebastian's powers for himself. With this thought, he breaks out of the cage and runs towards Sebastian. As he runs, Vincent and other figures dissipate into thin air. Ciel then calls Sebastian's name and regains consciousness. Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 then shows Ciel Phantomhive regaining his original senses as he stubbornly orders Sebastian to let him go. He also snaps at the demon butler and rests his leg on his shoulder. Sebastian smiles in delight as Ciel returns to his old ways. He greets him with good morning. Meanwhile, Ciel asks Sebastian whether he truly tried to eat him. Sebastian assures the boy that he was only 90% serious about eating him. Moreover, the demon butler tells Ciel that Tanaka has advised him not to take any drastic measures. Following that, in Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6, Sebastian asks Ciel why he became disoriented. At this moment, Ciel orders Sebastian to let the other servants in, as he also wants to tell them. As soon as Sebastian opens the door, the Phantomhive servants come stumbling in. Finian notices that Ciel has recovered. He rushes toward him in joy. Sebastian grabs Finian before colliding with Ciel and thanks him for caring for his master. Finian then holds Ciel's hands and cries. After that, Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6 shows Ciel apologizing to everyone for his behavior. While the servants feel Ciel doesn't have to be sorry, the boy disagrees. He promises them that they will never see his sorry side again. Ciel Phantomhive then asks them to serve him again. Following that, Ciel mentions how he feared even the tiniest things and completely lost control over his senses. Boldroy says it happens often on the battlefield, so it's not unnatural as such. Sebastian comments that his appearance had a massive impact when Ciel fell under the curse. He wonders whether it was a psychological blow. The demon butler then hands over Queen Victoria's letter to Ciel. The Earl notices a code written on the letter. Sebastian tells Ciel that he had the royal family conduct an experiment on a plant from the werewolf's forest, and that the magic potion had been used on Ciel since it was an emergency. As Ciel reads the analysis report, he understands the secret behind the curse. Sebastian Michaelis then informs Ciel that Sieglinde Sullivan has only acted according to the werewolf's will and is now trying to finish the ultimate spell. Just then, Ciel discovers another letter from the Queen, tucked under the previous one. As he reads the letter, he finds out that the Queen has requested Sieglinde Sullivan to have tea with her. And that wraps up Black Butler Season 5 Episode 6, where secrets begin to crack, and Ciel along with Sebastian get closer to the truth behind the so-called magic of the Emerald Witch. But as dark as things looked in this episode, Episode 7 dives even deeper. The story shifts to Sieglinde Sullivan's perspective, where she becomes consumed by the idea of completing the ultimate spell. A powerful magic she believes will create a protective miasma to save her village from werewolf attacks. Fully committed to her duty, she throws herself into her work, desperate to succeed. Meanwhile, Ciel and Sebastian's investigation leads to a horrifying discovery. The terrifying werewolves are nothing more than men in costumes, and the miasma Sieglinde is trying to perfect isn't magic at all. It's a deadly chemical weapon named Sulin. The entire legend of magic and monsters was a carefully crafted lie to control her. The truth hits Sieglinde like a thunderbolt. Everything she believed in, her entire purpose, has been a lie. She realizes that she's been manipulated into developing a tool of destruction, and the emotional toll is crushing. Her heartbreak is only made worse by the betrayal of her caretaker Wolfram, the one person she trusted. just when it feels like there's no escape, Ciel offers her a way out. To leave the village, to use her intelligence for something good. He proposes she work on creating medicines instead of weapons, using her genius to help people rather than harm them. For the first time, Sieglinde is shown a future beyond the lies. It's an offer she never imagined, and despite her confusion and grief, she accepts it. As the episode ends, she takes her first steps into the outside world, no longer as the so-called Emerald Witch, but as a girl trying to start over,